Despite Tesla stock being down this week, despite some, negative media reports on Elon Musk fighting with them, I believe Tesla Model 3 had the best week it had so far this year. I'm going to explain to you why. A couple of other news to cover, a couple of comments of the day, and we're going to do it all going into the weekend coming up next. Welcome to those of you who are watching me on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube in a replay, welcome as well. Please consider subscribing so you are up to date on everything that's going on in the world of electric cars. This is the only channel that will do so every day, so welcome. Okay, let's talk about Model 3 now. Of course, there were a lot of criticism this year, towards what's happening with it. I have certainly contributed to it, but at the same time, I will continue rooting for this because this is the best thing that's happening to the electric car technology, because Model 3 is really the great example how electric cars can be affordable. I know we're still not there yet, but mass-produced and successful and just better than their counterparts in the sort of a gas universe that's hopefully dying slowly as Model 3 making its progress. And listen, I know there's still a lot of things to do, right? They can't continue making, third of these cars in a tent. They got to figure out and sustain the rate that they're going with. They got to figure out quite a few other things, including quality, the service centers that are still extremely overwhelmed. I was literally a victim of it a couple of times this last month. Actually, in June, just had really awful experiences at the service center here that are overwhelmed. There are a lot of things to do, but the fact that this car is being produced at over 20,000 units per month, the queue is not slowing down. Still 420,000 people, at least reservations are in there, and I think people are getting even more and more excited once they see this car. People starting to race it with the performance version coming out. It's expanding to Canada, pretty soon in Europe. We are here, right? There's still a lot of things to fix, but we are here. And again, I just did a video about how I did not understand how this is not skyrocketing the stock. But what do I know? I'm not a stock specialist at all. I know there's still a lot of people working against Tesla, but this is the best week Model 3 had. I know there's not too many, celebrations and it's feel good, articles maybe surrounding around it. It's a shame, but I'm making one right now. This video is about how awesome this week has been, how we will look back and see, hey, this is the time when they started to finally really making their way into this new era of electric cars. And just like I said, I trust Elon Musk to fix the problems that I just mentioned that still need to be worked on, simply because he had done that in the past. I don't always believe him, especially with his timing, but I believe that he'll fix the problems that are still awaiting for him to do with the Model 3. Now, another great news, InsideEVs.com, by the way, if you haven't checked out that website, you absolutely should. They are the best website for altogether electric car news, but especially for doing they calculate the monthly sales of all electric and plug-in hybrid cars, which is difficult to do because these are not the numbers that just get released every month by manufacturers. And look at this, I will go full screen on this one. As you can see, Model 3 is way ahead of everybody for the total for June. I don't know what Prius Prime is doing here. I mean, don't get me started on that. Look at that. Model S and Model X numbers, look at them. They are one of the highest for the year. Definitely going back to what they should be, especially compared to the last couple of months. Chevy Bolt is actually, I don't know, it's actually getting why it's higher on the list. They sold more Chevy Volts there. The only disappointing thing on this is the Nissan Leaf. They sold less of them than the last month. By the way, this is for US only, but this is still a pretty good indication because this is where Tesla's selling Model 3s, and I know Nissan Leaf is doing really good in the rest of the world, but I don't know what's going on here in the US. The sales just fell. It is concerning because I think it's a good car, much better than the previous version, and overall one of the better affordable electric cars out there. I don't understand what's happening. From what I understand, it's a demand issue, supply issue. But even out on the streets here, I see 5 Model 3s a day when I drive around just to my office and back and stuff like that. And I must have seen only 5 of Nissan Leafs altogether ever of the 2nd generation. So that's a problem. I don't know why, but that's a problem. So hopefully they'll fix it. But right now it's not looking very good. Though they are advertising all over the place on TV. I've seen billboards in the airport, and I don't know. They're doing great in Japan and Europe. That's another weird part. Anyway, I'll get off that topic. Let's move on to Scott Pruitt. Before that, of course, don't forget that this channel and this video is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. I got a discount code for you guys. Just look in the description of this video so you can save yourself a few bucks. That's that. Thank you again to Evanex, or EVNX as some people like to pronounce it. All right, Scott Pruitt. I'm sure you know about this guy. He's basically the irony of it is this, he is a head of EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, just in case if you forgot what it stands for at this point. And he's like the worst guy. He's the guy who believed that it needed to be, shut down. He's a climate denier. Like literally, it's awful. It's I don't know how to even I was gonna give you an analogy. I'm just lost for words. So if you have an analogy for this, go ahead and put in the comment section. It wouldn't be so funny if it was so sad. But anyway, so he was also basically got in all of these scandals about spending all this money on for his personal stuff, and so finally he quit. He got forced out. Trump accepted his resignation. But before you celebrate, the reason I'm not celebrating is that absolutely 100% I guarantee you that Trump will make sure that the next guy who's going to be who's going to replace him will be just as horrible. It's going to be the same value, same or greater value of a horrible person to head EPA. So don't you worry. Don't celebrate too long. The temporary guy that's taken over is just as bad. So it happened, but we can't celebrate this because there will be exactly same guy in his place with a different face and a different last name. But that's pretty much it. All right, let's move on to the story I covered just, yesterday or the day before? Because Audi has released some of the interior pictures for the e-tron. I told you guys I'm not really that crazy about them having the cameras outside. That this is what's happening, how they displaying the mirrors. Right, so this is actually what do you call it? The digital screen. As you can see, the camera you can still see in the upper corner of this still. It's too low for my taste. It should have been square. It's kind of a triangle, so it's still covering up a lot of space that could have been used. I don't like it. I really believe it should be right in front of me since we're already using the technology. Now, Audi just released this video. By the way, when they released it, this is Auditography YouTube channel that got this video from Audi. Audi has it nowhere posted on their media. But anyway, so thank you to that channel. They're explaining some of the things here in this kind of a slow-moving but kind of cool video, and you will see that the way you use the mirrors, the mirror is kind of a touch screen. See, you can adjust the mirrors by basically scrolling around the actual screen to find the right spot for you to see. That's nice. I actually do like that, and I like the fact that it's touch screen. I just hate the positioning. It did look for a second like that light that I really wish Tesla had in their cars, where it's yellow when someone's in your blind spot or red. It will be on that screen, so I really like that. But still, don't like the positioning at all. If you ask me, that's just not good UI. All right, so now let's move on to comment of the day. I got 2 of them actually today, and let me start with the first one. And this one had to do with, my video yesterday about Elon Musk, whether or not he's helping or hurting the cause of Tesla. Now, this is Tom Hoffman, who has been posting pretty often in the comment section, so thank you, Tom, for that. And just like I promised, I feature people who disagree with me all the time. This is because I really want this channel to be about the community, the opinions that may not necessarily be the same as mine, and this is why I would get to tackle them here. And this is one of them. He says, Alex, I completely disagree that what Elon Musk is doing is not working. what he's doing is annoying and not best practice, and the stock price is failing, but those things do not equate to Tesla failing. And he goes on about why he thinks that Tesla is a success, which I agree with. But here's the thing, and I've gotten a lot of similar comments like this. You can't really say that his tactics are annoying and are not best practice and the stock is falling, and then he say, well, that's not really, you know, his fault and he should continue with it. Actually, the stock market, as you know, it's all about expectations. If anything, everybody can agree that Tesla stock is all about the future of Tesla. It's not what the value of the company right now. I hope we can agree with that, right? So if it is about homes, dreams, and future of the company, you kind of have to, see how they're developing, how they're producing, how they're what they're doing right now. And what Elon is doing is basically setting this high expectations and then consistently underachieving them. And then when somebody calls him on it, he tries to sort of go after them. Sometimes rightfully so, sometimes not so rightfully so. And we've talked about it. I don't want to repeat myself. But the thing is, don't forget, guys, he's not our best friend here. Okay, he's not a YouTuber. He is a CEO of Tesla. That's a publicly traded company. He has a job description. In his job description, really, he's got two things that he needs to worry about. One is the Tesla value, which is stock price, and two, sales, right? Then, CEO hires other people to worry about other things like PR, right? Like social media and so forth. Do they even have those departments anymore? I don't think so. I think he's trying to do everything, and this is just not his thing. And don't forget, I'm not even comparing Elon Musk to somebody else. Some other CEO or Steve Jobs and so forth. I'm comparing Elon Musk to Elon Musk 2 years ago. When there was some negative news that came out about Tesla 2 years ago, if you still remember, he would actually say, hey, guys, we're going to look into this. This may not be true, but we're going to look into it. And if it is true, we're going to go ahead and make it right. Last time he did it was with Consumer Reports, right? When they had an issue with a braking distance. He never used to go after people and attack them personally or sort of kind of attack generally media or group of people. He used to be above all of that, and I think that's where his celebrity status have solidified. He has changed. And so I like that Elon Musk a couple of years ago. I'm assuming you did too. What I'm saying is that even you guys are admitting, those who are huge Elon Musk fans, that, maybe his Twitter account is not the best representation of him and overall how this should be handled. But I'm telling you, this affects a lot of things. This does affect the value of the company in the future and so forth, because, a lot of people believe he's acting, irrational or he's stressed out and so forth. It would be reasonable to assume, to those people at least, that can affect the future of Tesla. So, and you can say it's not his fault. It's his fault when he's behaving this way, setting these expectations, then not beating them, then bashing people, and stock price doesn't go up. As a matter of fact, goes down. Who is the guy that actually gave the stock? I don't know if it's on a sell, but definitely is not helping. Is the guy who he hung up on during the earnings call. You know what I mean? It all comes back to bite you in the butt, and I wish he would not do that in the future. Once again, you guys are welcome to disagree with me. That's just my opinion. I want what's best for Elon. He is really my hero, believe it or not. I know I don't always agree with him or the tactics lately, but he absolutely is, and I'm rooting for Tesla, and this is why I wish he would just stop doing that. All right, so let's talk about the next comment of the day that I agree with. Actually, this is Coral and John Irwin, one of the supporters of the show, was already a Patreon, and today updated his pledge from $5 to $20 a month. $5 is the maximum really that I even have, but he just went overboard. Just wanted to say thank you. This is after my video that I made another day, and I will make another one over this weekend. As you guys know, I'm moving to Sacramento in order to possibly go full-time with this, maybe sometime next year, kind of cutting all of my expenses just to make sure that I can do this full-time. So stuff like this matters a lot to me, and those of you guys who donate even $1 or so forth, I really appreciate it, because I know I will be getting another sponsor at some point that will be able to sustain this whole channel. But I'm a little bit scared that it's going to be a big company that will, you know, will have some agenda and so forth, and I'll have to fight it with them every time. I'd rather be able to be supported by you guys, because that will keep this show absolutely independent, and I don't have to rely on sponsors and everything. I'm lucky that Avanex has been completely never ever asks me to say or remove or whatever something. They never butt in. They're just good sponsors of the show. But you know, in the future, obviously, I'll be looking for, you know, a bigger brand that can really skyrocket this channel to financial independence. But again, if things like this are gonna continue happening, I might not have to. You guys will be my sponsors altogether to keep it this independent. So thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'll watch for my video on Sunday. I will expand on stuff like that and on my move to Sacramento a little bit more. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching today's show. Tomorrow I have an interview with Hans from Automotive News. Check it out, and on Sunday I'll talk a little bit more about my channel. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.